Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the McFarlane Toys Spawn line Raven Spawn. This is the second version of this figure. I didn't know there were two until I got this one and thought, what the heck? I've been bamboozled. I'll explain that after we get into the review. But this is a Spawn figure that I just thought looked kind of cool. I'm not going to get everything that comes in this Spawn line, but ones that I think look cool that I feel like reviewing, I will review. And if you guys have any requests for this line, things you want me to review, let me know and I will try to accommodate as best as I can. But this is kind of a cool figure, so let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 8 inches to the top of his head, which makes him pretty close to, let's say, 20.5 centimeters. I'm not really counting the little spiky thing, but that's a good enough estimate. If you want to see how tall he is up against a Batman figure, which is regarded as a decent enough one, there you go. He's a big boy. He's got a little bit of height on him. If you want to see what he looks like up against a crappy Wolverine figure, there you go. He's a lot bigger than him. And if you want to see what he looks like up against a Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Son Goku Kaioken Event Exclusive Color Edition, and there you go. Alright, so let's dive into this, but first we have to do a question of the day. Which of the Spawn releases so far is your favorite? For me, it has to be objectively She-Spawn, or Spawn as I like to call her. But I think personally, even though it's not technically a better release, I like the Violator, the big monster guy. Okay, so let's talk about this guy. It is mostly gray plastic, and you're thinking it looks brown, and you're right, because it is painted. It appears to me that it is molded in dark gray, and then dry brushed brown, which does give a really nice look, because you get all that little black, I'm going to say black mostly, but it's dark gray, black recessed parts. All the lowlights are still dark, and that looks really cool. And then they do have a little bit of gray going on for the spikes. It's not super purposefully done, but it is there, so you can see that. And then they painted the belt. That's pretty much the long and short of it. The belt is very soft material. We have these hooks, which are also very soft, which doesn't look great, doesn't feel great, because they're all warped and stuff, but whatever. Then the cape and shoulder pads are molded in dark gray, and then the face is painted like the rest of the body with a little bit of tooth and eye paint, and it looks pretty good. So that's fine. Paint wise, I have no real issues with this. Could it be a little bit more involved? Yes, but I think this will do. This is okay given the character design. Now, as far as the sculpt goes, overall I like it a lot. Proportionally speaking, they did a really good job on it. His arms are a little oversized, but I think that's intentional. I'm assuming it is anyway, to kind of be exaggerated. But other than that, it's pretty well done. The legs are pretty nice. The torso is pretty good. Head's definitely a little bit small, but that seems to be a thing for Raven Spawn. So I'm okay with that. The only thing I really have a big problem with is they sculpted his upper abdominal section onto the upper, like onto his chest rather than his abs, and it sticks out in a huge way. Like, he looks like he's got some kind of rib problem. His pecs are tiny as a result. I mean, as far compared to this, and this sticks out so far, it's just weird. You don't do that in an action figure. You leave, like, the ribs would be up here. Like, you want to generally put the cut where the ribs are, at the top here, and then you kind of fudge it on the sides. But they went way down, like even down into where his abs would actually be, and put his abs up on the top half. So I don't know why we have these ab spikes again, and it really detracts from the bulk in the upper body. Even though we have the width, the pecs are so far recessed compared to the abdominal section, it looks very strange. Granted, on this figure it doesn't really matter, so it's fine, I guess, but it would look so much cooler if they actually had big pecs and not a giant lower rib upper abdominal area. But it still looks pretty cool overall. Lots of nice sculpt work in there, so I'll give it an overall rating of 8 out of 10 for the aesthetic. For the accessories, this is where we see the main difference in this release. Both weapons are different than the original release. First, we have this big sickle type thing. It's a different sculpt than the original release as far as I can tell. Or I don't know if they came out at different times or what. All I know is this is version 2. Anyway, this is a little bit different. It's mostly brown plastic with a little bit of silver on it. Looks okay, sculpt is nice, paint is lacking. And then we get a little hook sickle. The first one's a scythe, this one's a sickle? I don't know. I can never remember. This one's sculpted pretty cool, and it has enough silver paint on it to look nice and shiny, but it doesn't have like a wash or anything for the handle, so it's okay. I do believe this one came with like a sculpted chain in the first release. So slightly different accessories, nothing drastic. And then the box was different. I think that's it. Maybe the face, but I'm pretty sure it's not the face. And then lastly, we get the Spawn display stand, which is whatever. So 6 out of 10 for accessories. They're not as soft PVC as we're used to, so that's pretty good, but they aren't painted all that well, so nothing special, but good enough. I do want to note, we don't have any alternate hands. We only get the trigger finger hands, which will do for gripping hands, but they are, in fact, trigger finger hands. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. We have some ball pegs going on up here, which lets the head lean to the side nicely. He doesn't lean up all that well because the cape is blocking it and the helmet's blocking it, but it does move up and down, I would say enough. It's okay. And then of course it rotates and leans at the same time because we have double ball pegs, and that kind of pose right there is just, that's what I love. Just a little turn to the side, little nod of the head, and it gives so much more nuance than just turning the head to the side like that. Like that looks goofy. That looks intimidating. That's what I like. Now for the shoulders, this part right here, I think they should have just kept it on the cape and just separated it, but yeah, whatever. It's connected all the way down at the back of the bicep area by the tricep, and so that's kind of cool, except it can't... Normally this would be great, but since you have a cape here, this tucks under the cape and it gets in the way. So that's not good. It should have just been all one piece and just let it slide over the arm. So you can't raise the arms up all the way. They do have that ball peg cap in there, but they don't wiggle all that much, so there's not a whole lot going on. But they don't raise all the way, and I can't get either of mine to rotate at the bicep. So unless that's actually not a joint and it's just glued there, which would be ridiculous, neither of the bicep swivels work on this figure for me. So be aware that might be a thing for you. The plastic cap for the shoulder is the same color as the cape, which doesn't look great since it should be the same color as the arms, but it's not a huge deal. Double jointed elbow works nicely, though it's not the best looking thing, so be aware of that. Wrists have a ball hinge, which is nice. I like ball hinge wrists. That's pretty good. That'll work. I already showed you the torso having problems going forward. It can a little bit, but it would be way better if this was not designed horribly. Leaning backwards works pretty well, especially when you get that lower joint in there, so I like that. He leans back really, really well. If you get that lower joint in there, he still can't go very far forward. Pretty limited. Going to the side does work really nicely, though, so that's good. And then you get all the rotation you could want. For the hips, we can go out to the side pretty far. A lot better than 45, so I think that's enough. Going forward, yeah, he kicks high. That's pretty good. They don't go back too far. Not too much in the way of cheeks. For those of you wondering, always have to cover the cheeks on the McFarlane figures. Thigh swivel works better than most out of this line, so that is okay. Or out of the McFarlane figures anyway. Not this line necessarily. Double jointed knee works pretty well. No issues there. That's a nice looking knee joint. One of the best they've made, actually. Basic joint, but still. Then the ankles are on heavy ratchets, which make it a nightmare to get this guy to stand. Please stop doing heavy ratchets for the ankles. I mean, don't make them loose, because that's terrible. Just don't make them ratcheted, or make them much finer ratchets. Tight but fine would be the way to go. But you do get a decent amount of range in both directions, just it's limited, so you're going to have trouble finding that sweet spot. Of course, you can rotate that around for a really nice ankle rocker because the boots are soft. So really, there's a lot going on here that's pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So I'll say the articulation on this guy gets a 7 out of 10. There's not a whole lot wrong with it. Shoulders could work a lot better, but the rest of it works pretty well. You could even go 8 if you really wanted to, but since the torso is pretty limited and the shoulders are a little janky, I'm not going to do that. Alright, so time for a final verdict on this release. It's not a figure or character I have any personal connection to at all, other than it's pretty cool looking, generally speaking. I thought it would be nice to go with Spawn, and they did a pretty good job. It's nothing like incredible, but it's not really disappointing, and I think most people are going to be just fine with it. So I'm going to give it a final rating of 8 out of 10. It's not bad at all. Most of the articulation works. It's got some paint on it. It's got some nice enough sculpt work on it. Some accessories that aren't floppy. I think this is alright. There it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.